Hello, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, and welcome to part 2 of our Revenge of the Sith multimedia project. I am Dead Ponic. I am joined by King Orange.
Greetings, my fellow subjects.
So, for part 2 of our multimedia project, we will be covering the Revenge of the Sith video game that was published roughly around the same time as the movie. We will be covering the Xbox and PS2 versions of the game, not the PC or DS versions.
And yeah, this is specifically the video game adaptation of Revenge of the Sith. And as Deadponic stated, it came out similar time frame to the film. Funny enough, it actually came out before the film, which is spoilers much.
Hmm.
They did the same mistake that Lego Star Wars the video game did, but at this time, pretty much everything had to have a Revenge of the Sith tie-in to some extent. So, you know, and what no further than the actual tie-in video game, which for background information, this was pretty much done by LucasArts, and it was developed by LucasArts. It was published by Microsoft, and Sony and all of them, and pretty much it operates as a hack and slash game,
Funny
more or less.
funny thing, this is one of those games that came out around the same time that it is actually technically a clone of the Two Towers and the Return of the King video game, because it has a similar formula and kind of a similar layout, except there's no character selection for this game. You mainly just play as Obi-Wan and Anakin, and we have a lot of levels to get through. Like, seriously, there's a lot of levels here, and we're going to start off with Act 1, which, funny enough, one thing I did learn when replaying this game, they kind of splice scenes together, or they kind of move them around in terms of dialogue. If you've seen the movie and you play this game, you'll notice that right away. Another thing to note here is that there are some levels that were actually conceived for the movie, including one we'll get to in a little bit, that are included in this game, but they were cut from the movie, which makes for an interesting experience. All right.
Much like a lot of stuff that came out around this time, the developers for the Revenge of the Sith video game were operating under older scripts for the movie, and so they would design their levels accordingly. And so they would account for that. They would also use like delete scenes that got cut from the movie, as Deponic mentioned. And on top of that, they would also add their little own takes for certain stuff in order to facilitate extra gameplay moments, which we will get to later.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty much this entire thing operates as a hack and slash. You play as Obi-Wan and Anakin throughout the entire game. Those two pretty much are the main characters of the whole experience. And yeah, generally speaking, it's another fine example of the Revenge of the Sith storytelling being done, this time in a video game format.
So,
But with that out of the way, uh, let's do it.
yeah.
Wait,
So,
I gotta say it right. Let's do it.
anyway, so the first level is Rescue Over Coruscant, which literally starts with the cutscene from the movie where they crash into the hangar. Funny enough, this acts as your tutorial level. It's a pretty fun experience. I will admit, though, it can get a little bit aggravating when Obi-Wan says, "Use the Force to jump from here." Force jump, Anakin. It's like,
Anakin, go here. Anakin,
watch out.
activate this console. Anakin, kill these battle droids. Anakin, suck my.
Hey, we're trying to keep this PG here. So yeah. Now the thing I really like is, believe it or not, so the blocking positions are actually kind of cool. So Anakin, when he's doing like the typical
The
jump,
brace guard. Like
yeah,
he's doing the brace guard while Obi-Wan's more traditional.
where he's
And that's where, funny enough, they actually took a lot of the developers took a lot of cues in and even a little bit of motion capture from pretty much some of the actual actors. Like for example, Anakin's fighting style is actually emulated directly from Hayden Christensen.
yeah.
And Hayden even gave a lot of pointers on how to design certain things related to the choreography.
Oh, speaking of which, the voice actors. So I believe it's James Earl Taylor that voices Obi-Wan, and
Yep, Matt Lucas for Anakin, who in case you don't know who Matt Lucas is, he also voiced Anakin in the Clone Wars Micro series, and he's back here as
Yeah.
well.
Oh,
And
let's quickly talk about the death sound for Anakin. Oh my
oh no.
no. So when Anakin dies, if he actually manages, if somebody manages to kill him, he makes this really strange sound effect, and it's just like it's like the Yoda death sound effect from the Lego Star Wars games. Only it's oh my
It's so
god. Oh.
it's funny as hell, but yeah, it's generally speaking, everything's done pretty well, and it does a very good job of kind of everything looks very authentic to the movie. Now, obviously, we are talking about a game over 20 years old, so the graphics are going to be a bit dated, but still, I think it pulls off what it needs to very well. Everything looks the part. The animations are really good, and the first level does a really good job at introducing you to all the different combat elements where, the B1 battle droids are more or less just cannon fodder for you to kill, but then you get tougher enemies, like you
The
get
super
introduced to the
battle
super
droids.
battle droids who can take a little bit more
Ah,
damage.
funny thing, they don't have wrist rockets. Funny thing
Not
here,
this time.
they don't have wrist rockets, which is like that is a shame. Like, because that would actually be very interesting if they did that. But thankfully, there is another game that has that, which came around the same time. So
The war.
yeah,
It's not over.
so
Hostile forces have captured a command post.
well, that one, and I was thinking of the other one, which is Republic Commando, which we will get to eventually. The
Indeed.
so the
Yeah,
level
2005 was a good year for Star Wars video games.
Absolutely. So the level basically ends where R2 shuts down the shield, which wasn't there for the little hallway that they go into, but it's kind of the same idea, and they actually use clips from the movie, but they kind of splice them together. And in terms of the level progression, you can find certain force surges and health surges, which increase your maximum health and force meter. And you get experience for doing combos depending on how you beat enemies. So there's fair, good, impressive, and masterful. And the more combos of each you do, the more upgrade stats you get or progression you
Which you
get.
can use to upgrade certain attribute like your lightsaber techniques and your force abilities.
Mm-hmm.
So like for example, as far as force abilities are concerned, you get force push, you get force grip, you get lightsaber throw, you get force heal,
Force stun,
and force stun. Or if you fall, or in the case of the dark side characters, the force stun is replaced with force lightning.
which we'll get to when we get to the halfway point, which we'll explain in a little bit. So the next level you get to play is Obi-Wan. Now this level is an explosive called explosive development. This is based off of the latest scene from the movie, and it basically follows a similar formula where they get surrounded by a bunch of battle droids. Only this time they are greeted by a grappler droid. I hate
And there's no Grievous and Shock T in this one this
Yeah, so
time.
they cut through the floor. It's basically the same idea except as the deleted scene, but this time you got grappler droids to deal with. And also turrets. And I hate grappler droids. For anybody who doesn't know what the grappler droid, they're basically a variant of the super battle droid, except they're more melee focused. And what they'll do is they can block your attacks. They do the thing where they like bear hug you, and they can actually stop your
I was
combos.
wondering what would break first, your spirit
Oh
or
yeah, buddy. It's like, oh my god, like these things are so annoying. Even when you like cut off one of their arms, like they're still able to block. It's like, let me freaking kill you, please. And then also buzz
Well, that's
droids.
where combos are very important. Like enemies like that are really good at blocking standard attacks, the combos do a good job at dispatching them. So,
Also, we buzz droids because buzz droids and these things are actually kind of cool. Not gonna lie,
Anakin, I'm hit. I see them.
buzz
Buzz droids.
droids. Oh,
Yeah, and the buzz droids are annoying little critters, but yeah, and pretty much you progress through the different hallways, encounters of essentially a combination of regular battle droids. You get the grappler droids, super battle droids, and the turrets. and
Oh,
pretty much
the funny
and the
thing,
buzz droids, and you pretty
the
much.
funny thing when you're doing, you're basically when it tells you how to deflect the fire, you're basically doing this, which is kind of the I believe that's
And if you time out the block properly on blaster fire, it'll actually deflect it back towards the assailant.
I believe that little technique that they do is called, what is it called, the barrier of blades or something.
Something like that. But yeah, pretty much you have... So pretty much that level, it's just kind of another sub-tutorial level, but it still does its job
And you get to
really
play as
well.
Obi-Wan, which is always nice.
Yes, be prepared for a lot of trash talking in this game.
Yeah,
Y'all bunch of scrap pile.
I'm selling you for scrap. And I'm like, what? I don't remember Obi-Wan being this sassy in the movie. So then the next level is, funny enough, involves the elevators, which, so it starts off as normal. However, this is also where they splice together a couple scenes here with, like, how Grievous enters and then, it's just as Count Dooku predicted, but instead of immediately going into the elevator, you're actually fighting off destroyer droids. Funny thing about this, the destroyer droids in this game are actually not that bad, believe it or not. You can actually just stun them, and and they are pretty intimidating, but in combination with the other enemies, like say running B1s running around or grappler droids, Droidekas are actually not the most annoying enemy in the game, believe it or not.
Which is a first. But yeah, you got to deal with the droidicas, then you hop in the elevators, and that's when you also get introduced to the B1 aerial droid.
Oh god, they fly now? They fly now. Oh wait, this is the thing before that whole thing happened. So
Yes, and pretty much you fight them off on the elevator, and then you gradually stop at the terminals where you deal with droidicas, and pretty much that keeps going until
the end of the
you get
level,
buzz droids there, and
and
then
then the end of the
it
level
keeps going.
where Obi-Wan's like, we're about to become a lot thinner because there's like a grinder at the top. Quick, back into the car. You first, master. No time to argue. Go. Next time we're taking the stairs.
Yep. And now we're about to get to like the first actual meaty level, as
Mm.
I refer to it as.
Oh
And that
god, the boss
is
fight. The first boss
and
fight.
that's where it's introduced to the boss fight. So in this case, we have settling the score. And this is where we get introduced to the first boss fight of the game, which is Count Dooku. Of course, anyone who's seen the movie already knows, like, Anakin and Obi-Wan make their approach to Palpatine. They're like, Chancellor, are you all right? Count Dooku turns around, Dooku's there. He does that little flip, which is okay.
It's like, okay, was that really necessary? I mean, we already covered this, but
Yes. And then Dooku draws the sword and goes, Your swords, please. We don't want to make a mess of things in front of the Chancellor. You won't get away this time, Dooku. And unlike the film, they actually extend this scene a little bit based on some cut footage. And they have Dooku draw his blade, and he goes like, just because there are two of you, do not assume you have the advantage.
okay. Let's
Such a good line. It should have stayed in the movie. It's like, it's only a few seconds, but it would have been another bad A
now
line
this
to
is a
add in
theory,
Dooku's
Andy.
catalog.
So let's talk about the boss fight first. The one thing I realized replaying this level, okay, oh boy, Dooku is surprisingly tough, and this is what, the fourth level in the game, and you're already thrown into a
I
boss.
consider this level to be the separation from the wheat and the chaff. Like, pretty much, this is like the game going, all right, over 70% of you are probably going to rage quit by this point.
Mm-hmm.
In the last 30% are actually going to get through pretty, like, okay.
And since we're talking about this, so every character has this quote unquote super attack. Uh, what is Dooku's? Oh my god.
Freaking spinning around, and this led to essentially Dead Ponic recording this specific moment back in the Versus series, where I'm like, one of Dooku's greatest attributes is how conservative of a fighter he is and how good he is at maintaining his energies. Dead Ponic's idea of representing that was,
Let's
I'll
try
try
spinning.
spinning.
That's a
That's
good
a good
trick.
trick. I
Oh my god. He's never let me live this down. Like, every time we talk about this, he always brings that up. And I'm like, you know, okay, I was working on a time crunch here, and it just turned out that way, and I'm like, I wonder what he's gonna say, and I knew the first thing he was gonna bring up was that. So yeah. So Dooku's super attack is he does this little twirl ballerina thing, and it's like, and by the way, the super attacks, they're unblockable. And Dooku is tough. Like you
So at first, when the boss fight actually starts, you got Obi-Wan helping you out. Granted, the AI for him is not like super great, so it's kind of like
he even says, Anakin, distract him. I'm gonna try to flank him. It's like, why are you saying that out loud?
uh
Yeah.
reasons.
Yeah. And then
But yeah,
yeah.
pretty much you're engaging through Dooku, and something I gotta credit the game right away is the boss fights. They do a really good job with every single character where they give them a very unique fighting style that is accurate to their character descriptions. And I really like that. Like, and that's something where we'll talk about it more as the game continues, but like especially in Dooku's case, they represent his fighting style and his general tactics really well.
Shoddy
Because it's like,
swordsmanship. Is this truly shoddy swordsmanship? Is this what the Jedi Order has finally come to? And well, eventually
yes,
just
and it's great because like some of the other characters swing much more deliberately, and Dooku's just flick, 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 flick,
it's like
flick, flick, jab.
yeah.
That's like Dooku's entire finesse,
Also,
and
he has lightning, and so
yeah, and unfortunately, it's like if you don't time out when he's like gonna attack, he can like really screw you up like
especially
really quickly.
if he does that like that twirling spinning attack. And so part two of the fight, well, Obi-Wan gets disabled. He gets taken out of the fight, just like in the movie, and you have to fight Dooku by himself. And this
At
is,
first, it's on top of the balcony.
and then you go down, and he gets, and then uh, some battle droids, some B2s show up. Now, one thing I learned here is that if you knock one of the B2s into the pit, it actually gets a unique cutscene, which is kind of cool. I really like that. And yeah, and Dooku, yeah, as eventually you basically can work, like if you could time your blocks, you could realistically you could deal with him. Also, saber locks are basically just mashing the X or Y button in the Xbox case, and then eventually it gets to a point where he's like charging up the stairs, and Anakin like slowly uh working his way.
I love the look they do with that cutscene because like Dooku's like looking back at Palpatine with this worried look, and it's like you just got to think at that moment in that version of the fight, Dooku's like looking at him, going like, Master, is this still like part of the plan? Like, I'm kind of like, I'm kind of like getting overwhelmed here. Like, is this still part of the plan?
Yeah, and unlike the movie, Anakin just stabs him through the chest and he falls over and dies. He doesn't cut off his head at all, which is to keep the game as, it is a teen-rated game, correct me if I'm wrong here.
It is. Though it is puzzling, like it is I don't necessarily mind it. I guess they just do it for pacing's sake, but it is kind of interesting how they have it where Anakin kills Dooku in direct combat rather than having it end in more akin to like an execution, kind of like the film. But it is interesting when thinking about that because you could almost think like the way Anakin killed Dooku in that moment, you could almost imagine like in the film and book continuity, you could probably imagine that's how he described what happened to Obi-Wan and the Jedi Council. Like, hey, in the middle of the fight, I finally landed a good hit on it, like, and like killed him.
Also,
And
also, also, Palpatine has some like, yes, good hit, Anakin, excellent form, and I'm like, not helping, Chancellor.
hey, he's just being supportive. Palpatine's such a nice guy. He's just being supportive. He totally has no alternative agendas.
No, no, not at all. So yeah, so it ends again. They use a lot of actual scenes from the movie, and it moves on to the penultimate level of Act One, which is It's Not Over Yet, where you have to work your way through the hallways, and now Obi-Wan's protecting the Chancellor because they're separated by a ray shield, and you're basically just going through the level until you run into R2, and then you meet up with Obi-Wan and the Chancellor again, and you get to do something unique to this game, which is the turret sections. Love these things. And it's funny because they actually find a way to make this work within the context of the Battle of Coruscant, and because you're on a Separatist cruiser, you actually get to like basically jump on a Separatist gun and you get to blow up another ship. I find it interesting that also the scene that like the pre-level cutscene is actually the broadside action, which I thought was really cool. This would have been a great opportunity to have the whole scene where the ship goes down. And I guess they did do that in the Lego Star Wars game.
Yeah, would have been an interesting subpart level, but oh well. But what they do have is a really cool bridge sequence within the next level,
The general's
which
right
is the
hand.
general's right hand.
Wait,
So
his
much
right
like the
hand goes
film,
off?
Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Palpatine get captured, and General Grievous is doing his whole like, your lightsabers will make a fine addition to my collection. And once again, Anakin and Obi-Wan break out. And this time, Grievous has a bunch of Magna Guards that are going on. And while this is happening, unlike the movie, the ship is not really being stable with its controls, so it keeps like flipping around.
Let's quickly talk about the Magna Guards in this game, because I don't remember these clankers ever being so talkative, particularly these ones. Like they talk about, oh, the age, um, metal is stronger than flesh or something around those lines. The age of the Jedi is over, and I gotta say they're surprisingly tough for being the enemy of this level mainly. Oh
Well, yeah, because you're just going against multiple of them, and yeah, they're pretty tough with their melee combat.
yeah, and funny thing, just like in the movie, if you manage to like slice them in half, they actually like start crawling towards you and they try to jump on you and you just hack them to pieces. It is a it's a really neat little thing that they
Gives you a Terminator vibe, like 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 it's like like remember the scene with Sarah and the Terminator in the computer factory after
oh yeah.
Kyle dies? He's just like, I'm gonna get you, you little.
Yeah, you're terminated, motherfucker.
Yeah, that's literally us as we're fighting the Magna
They
Guards.
do have kind of the Medicards overall do kind of have a Terminator vibe. If I'm not gonna lie.
I
Although,
think it's the red eyes. The red eyes
yeah.
really gives
So
that.
the level ends just like in the movie. Grievous escapes, and well, it ends basically. We don't actually see Anakin landing the ship. He just goes, well, under the circumstances, I say the ability to pilot this thing is irrelevant. Strap yourselves in, and as we covered for for the film version, this is a fun scene. Um, I would hardly call it a landing. Crashes are rough.
Ladies
Landing,
and ladies and gentlemen, this is General Skywalker speaking. The good news is we will be making an immediate landing to Coruscant. The bad news is
we're
it's
crash
crash
landing.
landing.
We know you have no choice when it comes to air travel, but thank you for choosing Air Skywalker. So one thing I want to point out here: for a majority of Act One, you are playing as Anakin, which is unfortunate because I really wanted to play as Obi-Wan again. But don't worry, you'll get to play more of
To
Obi-Wan.
be fair, though, Obi-Wan does take up the majority of Act 2, though.
Yes, that's yeah. I was
To
gonna
be
get
fair. So
yeah.
it's like, I can accept that, given that it's like Anakin is clearly an Act 1 thing, Obi-Wan's an Act 2, and then Act 3 is like a bit of both.
And speaking of Act Two, now we get to the middle section of the game, which starts off with the first section of Utapau, where Obi-Wan's working his way up to the core ship, and uh, it's mostly standard enemies by this point. You do have to run away from a gun, which is like,
You do get introduced to the crab droid,
oh
though,
my
which
god, I hate those. I
probably one of the most painful enemies in the entire game. I'm not even kidding.
yeah, the crab droids are pretty much
He's a
like
more difficult boss than Grievous,
oh
and that's
oh
saying something.
we'll get to that when we get to the third level of Act Two. But yeah, the crab droid is like it has like this seeking laser. It can interrupt your combos. A lot of the tougher enemies can interrupt your combos, which is very annoying. And you also have to run away from a gun that's firing at you, which means you can use your force speed. Meep meep. Have you ever wanted?
Oh yes, the infamous force speed. First introduced when Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan were like, it's a standoff, let's go. Oh gee, what a great ability. I wonder if we'll ever see it be used again.
It only took them a little bit, yeah. And you actually there is another turret section in this game in this level, which is fun. I really enjoyed that actually. And then you get to the cavalry arrives, which is basically the hello there scene. except you're not fighting. Actually, you don't actually take out the magnet guards the way what happens in the movie. You
Well, in
actually
the movie, Obi-Wan just dispatches them by crushing most of them with the
with the little
pillar thing,
with the
and then
container,
he
yeah.
decapitates the last one with ease before it can even get up.
Yeah, and so well, you're fighting both of them and fighting 2-on-1 without like because in General's right hand, you had one that was going after Obi-Wan, the AI, and you had you playing as Anakin, you had to fight one yourself. Now you're fighting two, and they do this thing where they do like this backflip attack thing. It's like it's so annoying, especially when they start like twirling the staff. Even Obi-Wan says, "Let's see what you could do with that staff." And eventually, well, the clones show up, and you have to basically disable two anti-air guns, just like in Battlefront 2, funny enough. I wonder
It's kind of funny how the gameplay design in that way kind of was similar, but so it makes you wonder if that was just it makes you wonder if there was going to be a sequence like that in the film. Like I could almost imagine like when you think about the 4-hour cut of Revenge of the Sith that that sadly never came into existence. It makes you wonder if there would have been a sequence in that old 4-hour cut where like maybe Obi-Wan was getting ready to give in to chase with Grievous, but then noticed like a bunch of gunships and stuff were getting shot down, a lot of clones were dying, and so he's like, okay, I'm gonna temporarily help them out first, and then I'll chase Grievous.
oh, and then you jump down to a lower section of the level and you take on another crab droid. All the while you got droids running around and clones running around. And you have to bring down like this massive powered thing while grappler droids are running around too. Like this is the full scale of all the most of the droid enemies, except for the buzz droids. That's only exclusive to the invisible hand level. But unlike the film, it's the level ends where Obi-Wan jumps in a gunship and goes after Grievous. He doesn't like, call Boga and, what happens in the film. He doesn't lose his lightsaber, which leads to the second boss fight of the game, Showdown with Grievous. This is actually one of those times where I actually, surprisingly, this is actually a relatively fair boss fight because it's broken up into sections, and each time you get Grievous to a certain
He gradually escalates each
yeah.
time, which is nice. Like, and funny enough, this actually ties into I kind of want to talk about a bit related to Grievous in this because, as I mentioned with Dooku, with how accurate the combat styles are, this is a very good depiction of Grievous's combat capabilities because you see in this bit where it's like Grievous is using every part of his body as a weapon. He is very
Oh,
quick
he
to
does
like
the he does
improv.
the he does the Bane thing where he like cracks you over his knee. I'm like, what the hell were they thinking?
And it's good. Like the first sequence, he just pulls out two lightsabers and he's trying to fight Obi-Wan that way. And then you
Then he
get
retreats onto a lower section of a platform, and he starts breaking out his gun. Which yeah, this thing is kind of bullshit, but you can dodge it relatively easily. And then it escalates. He retreats into a
the third sequence, he starts learning. He does that charge attack.
oh god, the charge attack. Oh, thank God I've never been hit by that thing. But yeah, the charge attack is his super attack. But and because he doesn't have any force abilities, but he does have his little energy bar at the top of his health. He'll sometimes he'll like do a charge shot, which can like hurt, and he does like a 3-round burst from his blaster,
Pew
and
pew
then
pew.
the spider charge attack. Which funny thing, doesn't the Grievous in the new BF2, the 2018 version, doesn't he have like an ability where he like scurries around and like kind of like
Yeah, it's called the claw rush. It's
yeah
basically like it basically gets him that running style that he had in Revenge of the Sith, where he's like, "Screw this, I'm out."
yeah and
And it's just like that. And it's as someone who's both played with that and gone against it, that ability in the right hands in new BF2 can be OP as hell because it's
mhm.
like he's extremely hard to hit when when he uses it.
Yeah, and yeah, so the level ends with Obi-Wan killing Grievous. But
Oh, we do gotta mention, like, eventually he gets into the cave
oh
where
yeah,
there's a cool cutscene in between where Grievous, like, manages to get Obi-Wan a saber lock, kicks him in the face with his metallic thing, and then uses a bomb to try to bury Obi-Wan in the cave. Now, Obi-Wan, of course, being Obi-Wan, gets out, and by then Grievous is like pissed off by this point, like what the hell, you should be dead by now. And that's when he finally cracks up all four lightsabers. And I like how it builds a gradual escalation like that, where it's like it kind of it treats the entire fight with Grievous as basically a roving tactical retreat, which I feel like in a way actually would have made a much more effective fight in the film. Like,
I
I
agree.
think it's kind of sad how the fight between Obi-Wan and Grievous really only lasts periodically for like 30 seconds, give or take. Or maybe a minute. And then it's just, as soon as that minute's over, it's kind of like, well, then the whole thing is just Obi-Wan chasing Grievous and that's it. And it would have been neat if, like, maybe they did something more keen to the game here where Obi-Wan's essentially chasing Grievous down and they get into these occasional, like, spats only for Grievous to find a way to distance himself and then try to get away again.
Yeah, and so
Like,
yeah.
it would have been neat. And another funny thing, unlike the campaign, actually gets the configuration with Grievous right with his lightsabers, because something I found
Oh yeah.
interesting is in the campaign, Grievous is using both a blue and a green lightsaber, and when he does 4 lightsaber, he gets 2 green, 2 blue. Meanwhile, in the versus mode, they just have Grievous use blue lightsabers, and that's it.
Oh really? I actually didn't notice that. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, I
So
know. It's just it's a funny detail, but yeah, Obi-Wan kills Grievous this time in a different way. He doesn't do the traditional like shooting him over and
he
over and
actually just
over.
he just stabs him and he like short circuits and falls over. Which honestly, I'm okay with that. It's a good thing this wasn't the cut version where he like goes in and starts ripping out his insides.
Yes, thank goodness that was removed.
Thank God that never saw the light of day. So yeah, so that's that one, and then we finally get the final level of Act 2, which is the dark side of the Force. So you're playing as Anakin again, and this is the second boss fight in a row, which
I'm too weak. Don't kill me,
yeah,
please.
yeah, so
And
yeah,
so whole thing of Anakin turning to, going against the Jedi and trying to protect Palpatine. But this time, Anakin and Mace actually
fight.
go into a full-fledged fight.
Which a funny thing about this whole thing. So this game, let's quickly talk about this game as like as far as canon goes, because this is considered a secondary canon thing because there's a lot of changes that they made that don't quite line up. The big one is, well, obviously Anakin and Mace don't actually fight in the movie or in any other source except for this game. Also, another thing, after this point, uh, well, obviously Anakin goes to the dark side, but his instead of the Force stun ability that you get, that you've been using for the past little while as Anakin, after this level you get Force lightning. Now there's no source that shows that Anakin is capable of using Force lightning. Now, one thing, actually, hold up the cover of the case because it actually shows this on the front cover if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and he's using his offhand too. Now, a thing that most people probably don't know. Oh yeah, that too. Also, in the intro cutscene before you get to the main menu, he actually does use lightning, and in the
Versus mode.
yeah, in the throne room level, because in the opening cutscene.
Yeah, yeah, but Anakin essentially fights against Mace and
Oh
pretty
my.
much like
Oh.
now,
Oh.
which is it is interesting how that's done, because again, it does leave into question if a fight between Anakin and Mace would have been a thing if the film had gone that 4-hour extended. But now here's a question I want to ask, because I'm sure we're gonna have fun talking about this, and I'm sure one day we'll probably make at least one of us will make a versus video probably covering it in detail. But what is your thoughts on Anakin versus Mace conceptually? Because those two have been really kind of compared to each other a lot on, ooh, who would win between Anakin and Mace if they ever fought, yada yada, blah blah,
So
And those two are particularly a big debate because it's like Anakin's usually above most of the standard rank and file Jedi just by default. And however, a good 90% of the community could agree that like if he got thrown against Yoda, Yoda would freaking tear his ass a new one.
Yeah.
However, um, Mace has always been kind of that weird middle child in that sense, where it's like some people think Mace would take it, other people think Anakin would take it. And I guess which who would ultimately win a fight like that in a versus context? That's for us to determine in a versus video. But do you consider the fight that is portrayed in the game to be believable?
I do, but there is one thing. The thing about this, the whole thing, the conceptualization behind this is the idea. Anakin is, keep in mind, Anakin at this point, within the context of the story as a whole, not just the game, but the entire Revenge of the Sith storyline, is emotionally conflicted. And that leads to a couple of things. One, he's not fighting at his apex. Now, this fight is basically what would happen if they fought and Anakin won. I say this is more of a, if we're placing odds here, I say that out of 10, Anakin takes 2 out of 10, and Mace would take the other 8. The reason for that is because Mace is a better sword fighter, in my opinion at least, and also the nature of the Vopet effect, because I do believe Anakin, within the context of this fight specifically, is channeling the dark side a little bit. Even Mace even says, "Oh, you're corrupted by the dark side. You're tainted by it." It's like, is he though? Because you still have your Force stun ability during this fight, and for me, this is one of those ones where you kind of have to look at it within a certain context. You have to also consider a few other things that are going on right now. What the setup? Yeah.
I mean, there are two things I can also consider related to Anakin winning in this context too, is that Mace did just get finished doing a fight against Palpatine, which
Yeah, actually, the level starts where
because even though the Vopad effect allows him to keep going while he's fighting, it's probably clear that like once when the fighting's over, that's when all the fatigue is going to catch up and he's going to be like, oh, Jesus.
Actually, it's funny because the film basically has it where Mace is actually kind of panting, but it's like he was doing like a 2K run, where Palpatine's just like sweating like a pig. But obviously it's an act, but it goes to show like effectively the what like as a swordsman, what Mace is capable of when he's basically amped, and even at his base when he's not amped. And
Oh, I mean, I would easily say even Mace on a base level because, I mean, yeah, when he's amped by Vape with the effects of Vapad, he really does transcend like almost everything. But I would say even base Mace is at least an equal to Dooku. I
actually,
would
yeah,
say.
there's a comic that actually, well, there's a comic sequence where they actually fight, and Dooku chooses
Yeah,
to
that's during the Boz Pity comic.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think most sources have typically put Mace and Dooku as pretty much equals to each other for the most part. Um, But yeah, all things considered, Anakin fights against Windu,
Oh
and
my.
once again, I gotta praise it where it's worth. They make Mace's fighting style pretty
Oh,
accurate.
oh. The thing you were telling me off screen where Mace goes, and you take if you with the one line where if you take it out of context, come here, I have something to show you. Um
Oh,
no,
he
yeah.
also has a mega rust on Anakin saying like, "You've become an abomination to the Force." I'm
Force.
like, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. For anybody who doesn't know, wow, Mace was one of the people who actually was like basically against inducting Anakin, and also was one of the people who was against knighting him. Funny enough, in the micro series, which we talked about in our micro series review, um, Mace is not present at the knighting ceremony, which is funny. It's either he might have been away, he could have been on another business, but I like to think he actually chose not to be there just because he doesn't like Anakin
I
that
don't
much.
know. Yeah, it's a hard statement to make it, but yeah, I mean, and I think that's another reason why the fight is so widely talked about between Anakin and Mace because like Anakin and Mace have always had this weird like kind of soft rivalry with each other a little bit. And I think that's kind of another reason why it's talked about a lot. Like, honestly, I think this is just a road call for us to eventually make a Mace versus Anakin versus eventually.
Well, funny enough, I'm actually in the process of scripting a Mace versus Vader, so we'll see how that goes. But
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, all things considered, the fight ends with Anakin killing Mace and pushing him out the window. And I guess you could say Windu got thrown out the window. I'll see myself out. But pretty much after that, it plays the movie clip again where Anakin's like, "What have I done? You are fulfilling your destiny, Anakin." Like,
yeah.
I'm not even trying right now.
So now we're into Act 3, and now we're actually actively playing as Anakin during Order 66. There's a thing here that they do,
Can we
again.
mention how this game is actually probably the only source that actually gives Operation Nightfall the justice it deserves?
Before we go any further, something we missed in our Revenge of the Sith film review, let's quickly talk about one deleted scene that's just, ugh. So, during Order 66, uh, Anakin walks into the temple, and he goes to Shakti's quarters and just backstabs her. And it was clearly unfinished, but it shows him walking out of the chamber, just walking through the halls as Order
Thank
66.
goodness that scene was removed.
Oh my god, thank
Like,
Christ for that.
thank God. Like, I'm sorry. Shakti going out like that is probably single-handedly the dumbest thing I could ever think about. Like, I don't even like the Grievous one all that much because I think it's also BS for her to die by Grievous like that. But at least with that one, it kind of makes a little more sense. But her just sitting there and letting Anakin kill her is
Well,
dumb.
she was
Like,
meditating, if I'm not mistaken.
still, meditating in the middle of the temple being under siege? Yeah, no fam. Like realistically, if they wanted to kill Shakti off in that kind of manner, what they should have done is have her be one of the Jedi Masters defending the temple and actually giving Anakin a decent run for his money, but only for her to actually, like, it's kind of like Shakti can buy time, but Anakin just becomes too much because the dark side's just feeding him further and further until he eventually overpowers her and cuts her down. Like,
Yeah.
that would have made a lot more sense and actually would have showcased Anakin's capabilities a lot more. Because something I'm going to point out really quickly that this game does really well that the film sadly doesn't is that it actually kind of demonstrates just how powerful Anakin is getting once when he, immediately turns to the dark side and becomes essentially Nightfall Vader. Because with the films, you don't really get a lot. In fact, honestly, you don't really get really anything in the
You only
films
get the you only
outside of Master Skywalker. There are too many of them. What are we gonna do?
okay, Mickey Mouse.
Bzz. Like,
Okay, Mickey Mouse.
it's like, but like, yeah, in this game, it's actually really cool because Anakin is, he immediately kills Jocasta Nu, and then pretty much after that,
Bunch of Jedi jump down and they go, "You won't get away with this, Skywalker." Actually, before we start, they do a little thing where they move a certain piece of dialogue around where it shows Anakin marching up the temple and Palpatine's line, "Do what must be done, Lord Vader. Do not hesitate. Show no mercy."
show no mercy.
They move that dialogue around, which I can understand why they would do that because they don't want they don't want to bore the player with having an actual scene from the movie. So what they do is they'll move some certain dialogue around to keep.
And then they do the in-game cutscene, and
Yeah.
that's where Anakin kills Jocasta Nu, and then yeah, the other Jedi are like, "You won't get away with this, Skywalker," and yeah, let the slaughter begin because you are just, as the player at this point, you are going against Jedi now, and you are just, if they're low tier like standard run-of-the-mill Jedi Knights, you are butchering them. They are like dead, 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 and dead.
Yeah, funny thing about this level also is at one point you actually use the force to pick up a statue, which one of the gameplay mechanics is actually you stop at a point, you hold down a trigger, and well, they stop what they're doing to like lift this massive object, and Anakin like picks up this statue and uses it to break open a door. And the whole idea is that basically you're trying to get into the communications room area that we see in the film, and this one of the clones says, "Oh, what was it? Sir, there's been a breach in sector something, and Anakin's like, yes, I sense Syndraulic. I'll deal with him. You stay here, guard this, and protect the beacon. Guard it with your lives. And then, well,
Okay, can I imagine how as soon as Anakin joins the dark side, I swear, I don't think like I can't really blame the voice actor for it, but it comes across like it's almost I wonder if it's a director choice where it's just like he sounds like he's on like frickin' weed as soon as
you
he
want to buy
the
some
dark side. Like
mystics?
I it's like it's like the Jedi are no longer in control.
Oh my
I
god.
want access to the Jedi archives. You're no match for the power of the dark side.
Oh
It's
my.
like, good grief, Anakin. It's just, he either sounds like he's on weed or he's tired as shit, which I will be fair though, that is probably possible because doesn't the novel confirm that
Yeah,
Anakin spent like over 24 hours without sleeping? Like,
yeah,
it was
because
like,
it was a thing. He was like obsessed with something. Well, when we get to the novel version, we'll talk about that. But
yeah, we're
yeah,
gonna have fun with that.
oh,
But
we're gonna have fun with that. Yeah. So the next level is yet another boss fight. Actually, it's the first boss fight
well,
of
it's
the.
two technically.
Oh yeah,
The
it's
skid
back.
that planned. Now there were two of them.
So you face off against Syndraulic's most promising student, Sarah, and she is the only character that's playable that actually uses Jarkai, which is funny. She's
Well,
surprised
if you don't count Grievous.
if you don't count Grievous, yeah, obviously. Uh, but she's actually not that tough. In fact, you basically kill her by dropping a statue on her, and then Syndraulic runs in, and then you get the meat boss fight here. And Syndraulic is actually surprisingly tough. Like,
Yeah, he's one of the better boss fights, and funny enough, it's cool what they did with him because unlike the other characters, they don't really have to emulate a style with him, and so they just turn him into this like ultra blitz fighter, which I
yeah,
really like. And it's cool they give him an actual good fight with Anakin in this because it's weird how Syndraulic was built up a lot with an external dictionary. Like, if you look up visual dictionaries within Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, Syndraulic is really built up a lot, but then the film does virtually nothing
nothing.
with him.
In fact,
And it's like,
in fact, the Padawans have came to call him the Troll for some reason. I think that was
yeah, and it's like, yeah, pretty much the film, the only thing we get with him is a brief hologram where Anakin's like deflecting lightsaber strikes from him while he's choking out one of the Padawans. And that's really all we get as far as the film's concerned. And I like how in this they give him an actual full-fledged fight. And this is kind of, I feel like those kind of fights are like examples of why I feel Revenge of the Sith really works well as an like secondary canon. Because it's kind of a case of this is a situation where it doesn't contradict the movie, but rather adds on to it.
in fact,
It's like,
actually the way that Syndraulic dies here is actually kind of cool because Anakin's like he's basically like lightsaber throws directly
they're
at him.
like in a saber lock, Anakin's starting to like overpower him a little, and then Syndraulic like kicks him off, gets him on the ground, and
And he's like,
Syndraulic's like ready to charge him to
and he goes,
finish him off, and Anakin's like, whoosh.
oh
He
shit,
freaking does the Black Knight move.
yeah. I understood that reference.
and it's cool. It's a good fight because I like how in that case it's like Syndraulic actually I think that's a good representation of where Anakin is by this stage of his life. Syndraulic, who is a pretty much the Jedi battle master at this time, it's like he can give Anakin one hell of a challenge, but it's just a case of because Anakin just has so much raw power and strength to work with combined with a decent amount of ingenuity, it's just not enough. And it's like, it's a case of saying like, it's neat how I think we needed some kind of fight like that in the film that would have established where Anakin's power level was in relation to the rest of the Jedi Order. Because unfortunately, the only thing that I think this is kind of the reason why Anakin's power level is such a highly debated topic point. Because it's like, on one hand, his accolades like reference him a lot of times as one of, if not the most powerful Jedi of the time. But then at the same time, when you look at his actual combat feats, I mean, sure, he kills Dooku, which is really impressive. But then it's like after he turns to the dark side, we don't really see him accomplish anything, really. And so then it just kind of makes you think, well, and then later he fights Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan wins. And so you think, okay, well, clearly that can't, that doesn't mean Anakin should be like, oh, Sidious and Yoda level. So I think what they could have done and what they probably should have done in the film that I like that the game did is they should have had that kind of middle road Jedi for Anakin to fight against that would have established how far he has come. Like if Anakin beating Dooku was a representation of how much he grew as a Jedi, Anakin beating whoever this middle of the road Jedi is should have been signifying his power in general, finesse as a Sith. And I think you could have really gone away with any of them. Like you could have done the Mace one theoretically if you really wanted to go down that route. But even if you don't do Mace, I think they could have either done Shakti or Syndraulic.
Yeah. I actually like the fact that like this game gives like Syndraulic is like one of the best fights in the game by and far. So this
Oh, he is.
yeah.
He's challenging. He has unpredictable techniques, which are really nice. And yeah, I would actually say among all the boss fights in the game, he's definitely one of the more difficult ones to get a feel for.
Yeah. So the next level we play as Obi-Wan again, and this occurs basically
Attack of the Clones. Ha ha.
ha
He
ha
said it. He
ha
said it.
ha ha.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
funny. Wrong
and it
episode, guys.
begins with that hologram like Commander Cody, the time has come. Execute Order 66. And then it cuts to a in-game cutscene where Obi-Wan finishes slicing down a squad of droids, and then meanwhile a gunship like raises above. Obi-Wan turns around to the troopers and says, "This area's already cleared out. You won't be any help here. Move on to the next level." And the clone has funny enough, a really interesting response that is kind of fun from an Order 66 standpoint. Is the "I'm sorry, sir, but we are no longer required to follow your orders."
What? And
And,
then
and Obi-Wan's like, "What'd you say, trooper?" And then the gunship turns and is like ready to fire at him. And it's like, oh shoot, here we go.
yeah. So the main enemy, obviously the clone troopers, but there's blaze troopers too. Oh my god, the blaze troopers. Oh my
This
god.
level is chaos personified because you are dealing with clones, you're still dealing with leftover battle droids, and yeah, you get a lot of interesting clone variants here because
Also,
you got...
you get to fight on top of a clone turbo tank. Yay, Juggernaut!
Don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch.
I understood that
It,
reference.
and yeah, pretty much this level is a pain in the A if you don't know what you're doing. Because, yeah, those flame clone troopers, the ones with the jetpacks, they will screw you up
Oh yeah,
badly.
yeah, and the Juggernaut section is actually pretty tough because it's really difficult to actually take out the turrets. But it eventually leads to Obi-Wan actually managing to escape by what he does in the film. Funny thing, I actually think this is actually a section, this could have been integrated somewhat into the movie, or at least in the novelization, where Obi-Wan's climbing up the cliff, and he actually has to fight through the 212. That would actually be pretty interesting if they actually ever did do a 4-hour version.
It would have been interesting on that. But yeah, it eventually culminates with Obi-Wan escaping on Grievous's like fighter, much like the movie. And then from there, it cuts over back to Anakin,
Oh
where
god,
Anakin
the
is sent
Mustafar
over
levels.
to kill the Separatist leaders on
Oh my,
Mustafar.
oh my god. Okay.
And I'm gonna let Dead Ponic explain the feelings this level gives.
Okay, so you're basically here to take out the Separatist Council, which is a good feeling because you actually get to kill them when you get to that conference room. But basically,
Wipe out Viceroy Gunray and the other Separatists.
yeah. So you're not just dealing with droids here. You are dealing with Nemodian bodyguards, Nemodian
The
soldiers.
Gunries.
Yeah,
Nemodian Gunries is what they're referred to as.
yeah, and they have these shock stick things that can actually disrupt your combos and they can stun you. And they are not fun. They are probably the most annoying enemy in the entire game. And that's nothing. That is nothing compared to what, assuming you manage to get that far, you get to the the conference room area. You kill all the Separatist leaders. Funny thing, Gunray leaves and locks the door on the other guy, so you could just go around and like, it's very satisfying. And then
I think it's funny too because they even have him killing Hako, and Hako's going like, "Stop, I ask for mercy, mercy. You are a Jedi. You wouldn't strike an unarmed person." He's like, "There's much you don't understand." Just dead right
you get
there.
to kill Wat Tambora, which is kind of interesting that they don't show that in the film.
I
But
think they
here,
kill Poggle in this too. I
oh
think it's like
yeah,
Tambor, Poggle,
Arco.
and Hako, I think. And maybe one random one, I forget.
And then the boss fight for this level. Oh my. Okay, so Gunray goes on his shuttle. Okay, and okay, look, the Separatist shuttle or the little Nemoidian shuttle thing. Okay, you're basically trying to take this thing out while he's firing proton torpedoes. Sorry, not photon. And this laser thing that's going across the arena, and all the while, like this is the most it's the most aggravating boss fight of the entire game. And
Is it funny that probably the least realistic part about that boss fight is assuming that Gunray would actually stick around for that? Like, no, I'm sorry. The minute he's in that ship, he's just out.
you know what they should have done? They should have took a cue from TCW, or they should have done this first before TCW did it. They should have had a tactical droid go in and say, "Start my shit." that Gunray is a fool, and then Gunray comes over. He's like, "My ship," and then the ship takes off, and you just basically go over and you have to kill Gunray. Oh, that would be so much better than this entire boss
Yeah,
fight.
but yeah, eventually you destroy the ship and that concludes that level. And then you go back to Obi-Wan, where Obi-Wan and Yoda are entering the Jedi Temple to essentially deal with the aftermath. In fact, the level's literally called Aftermath and Temple.
Yeah,
And this is where you once again are greeted by the clones, the
Light
Flamer Troopers,
Troopers,
except this time, instead of wearing 212th skins, they're wearing 501st
501st.
skins this time. And as if all of those weren't annoying enough, as soon as you get to the Jedi Library, oh god, Battlefront 2 PTSD, defend the library.
Oh no, no! Oh,
But
clone
as you get
assassins.
into the library, you are greeted by clone assassins.
Okay, all right, I'll take this one. Okay, clone assassins. They're these guys that have like these viral blade things. They kind of that are like underside here, and they move fast. Like they can actually dodge your attacks. And given that this game is depicting Jedi because they can move faster than a normal person, I actually think these clone assassins were enhanced in some capacity, which makes them, which
Either enhanced or specially trained.
yeah, and I'm like, oh, terrific! Now I gotta fight these guys, and they're tough. All the while you got other clones, shooting at you, and these guys they don't play nice, and they just oh
The only saving grace is for most of the level, you got Yoda helping you.
and then, well, Yoda splits off to do his own thing. It's like, what the hell were you doing? Like, I thought you guys were entering the temple together and sticking together so that, safety in numbers, guys. I guess, I guess,
Learn to fend for yourself, you must, Obi-Wan.
yeah.
But
And,
yeah, you get through that, and that's where you recalibrate the signal, much like the movie, and then Obi discovers the truth that Anakin was the person responsible. And yeah, pretty much from there, this culminates into pretty much the final two levels, and unlike the other ones, these final two levels are actually just two different variants of practically the same level. So the first one, which is the actual canonical final level, you could, call it that, is A Friendship in Flames. And this is pretty much where you're playing as Obi-Wan and confronting Anakin on Mustafar.
yeah.
They don't really show much in regards with Padme, though, and all that, so the fight is kind of treated very out of context.
Yeah, but, oh, I do actually think the fight.
Somehow Obi-Wan got to Mustafar.
No, I actually think this fight is pretty well done. I mean, you are playing through basically the facility, and it actually culminates on that little platform. Except there's no like flying little droid for Anakin. Instead, it's just you're at the near the end of the level, you're actually just stuck on this little platform, and Anakin is actually surprisingly tough. Like, he's not the
Oh,
tough.
his attack ferocity is insane.
Yeah, and he's not the toughest fight in the game, but he is pretty tough. And at this point, you should have everything unlocked for Obi-Wan, so combos are going to be the way to go. And, also because this game likes to do this, for the reason they did this, Anakin has lightning. So blocking is your best friend here. And when you're playing as Obi-Wan, especially when you play as him throughout the levels, playing defensively is the best way to go. When you play as Anakin, you play aggressive. Or in other words, when you play as Anakin, brute force, brute force, brute force, brute force.
Yes, exactly. And it pretty much goes through defending against, pretty much having a strong defense against Anakin is really going to help. And then from there, pretty much it ends much like the movie where you dispatch Anakin, you leave him there, Anakin becomes Vader, you know, help protect Luke on Tatooine, and pretty much ends more or less the same way. Um, then we get, once when you beat that level, you unlock the alternative version of this level, simply called Revenge of the Sith. And this one is interesting because this is pretty much an alternate version, and you play as Anakin this time around, and Obi-Wan is your final boss.
Yeah, and
So
when you're fighting Obi-Wan, it's more you want to play it safe against him because in the opening
Obi-Wan has really good counters if you don't
yeah.
know what you're doing.
Yeah, and especially in the opening cutscene before you get to the main menu, there's a bit where he's like doing this corkscrew spin on a droid. He has that combo here. It's like he's operating as if you've unlocked everything for him, which by this point you should probably unlock everything. But holy man, like fighting Obi-Wan is pretty tough, and it ends with the alternate ending where Obi-Wan doesn't turn.
It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground. You underestimate the power of the dark side.
And then, well,
Don't try it.
So instead of what happens in the canonical ending, Anakin actually flips over him and actually manages to basically backstab, and he like kicks him down to the shoreline of the lava river. And then, well, Palpatine shows up, and he's like, he basically is like, "Excellent, my new apprentice. The Jedi are all but finished. There's nothing left to stand against us. Your new weapon, Lord Vader." And then, well, Anakin uses the new lightsaber to kill Palpatine. And he goes, "No, the galaxy belongs to me." I'm like, okay then.
Yeah, pretty twisted stuff. Though, I'm sorry, realistically, you are not killing Palpatine that easily at all.
And in fact, like, some of the clone troopers are actually like kind of shakily putting...
They're like, wait, what the...
Yeah. One of them actually points their weapon at Anakin, if I'm not mistaken, and it's like, okay, what the hell's going on here? It's like, do we shoot him? Do we not? Like, what's going on here?
I don't know. But yeah, pretty much, and it ends with practically Anakin becoming, essentially, we have Emperor Vader.
Yeah, the alternate ending is actually kind of interesting, but it is a little bit ridiculous. It's
a little far-fetched, but it's kind of far-fetched in a fun way, where it's like Anakin... It would have been neat if they had some kind of extended cutscene that would have showcased, like, Vader becoming the Emperor, because, funny enough, here's the thing about that, talking about that as, like, a premise. Assuming Vader never got crippled and he's still operating with, like, the Anakin appearance and whatever else, I actually say it probably could have been made possible for him to become Emperor, only because of how much of a positive reputation he built in the Republic at this point. So for him operating as kind of an Emperor-esque individual, I could buy. The problem is, his rule would not last long at all.
And he would have to explain to the Senate, oh, why isn't Palpatine here? You see that show?
Now, I can already think of a good cover story if I was him. Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi has assassinated the Supreme Chancellor. I had arrived too late to save the Emperor's life. However, I had managed to slay the Jedi demon. Behold, The head of your former... Oh, wait, sorry, wrong franchise.
Yeah, so besides the main campaign, the game also has a couple bonus missions. One of them is funny enough is the duel between Vader and Old Ben on in it from A New Hope, which I actually appreciate. Although another continuity itty bitty problem here, Vader isn't able to use lightning, so yeah, but that's a fun bonus mission.
If they were willing to do their own animation for Vader, they should have realistically given Vader, like, instead of the Force Stun of Force Lightning, they should have made it like a Force Choke animation.
Yeah, and one of the bonus levels actually you get to play as the Magna Guard, and one of them you get to play as Yoda. Fun times. Love the one with Yoda because
Commit war crimes, I will.
yeah, and there's one where you get to play as Grievous, and there's a couple good ones. But
There's also there's also cooperative levels that you can play with like a second person on like couch co-op. And those are usually just between like Anakin and Obi-Wan, though I think it might have a few that are different combinations. I'm not sure.
yeah, I would have to check that out. But
And then finally, last but not least, there's the versus component.
yeah, so the main every time you beat a level, you get like concept art, you get the particular level, like for example, the throne room um level is unlocked, both its upper section, its balcony, and the main throne room section,
You
for
get
example.
more stages, concept art, uh, cutscene clips, and then, of course, depending on certain levels you beat, you get character unlocks.
Yeah, and this
Like at the start of the game, you just get Anakin and Obi-Wan. Those are the only two you can play as at the start. And then as you continue the campaign, you get more and more characters.
yeah, and this mode actually had a competitive following way back in the day, and Orange is actually one of the few people who told me about it. And it was common practice, believe it or not. If I'm not mistaken, he told me that in actual competitive tournaments, Grievous was actually banned, straight up banned.
Yes, because Grievous was ridiculously overpowered in the versus mode, mainly because grapple effects wouldn't work on him. You couldn't force grip him at all because pretty much they made it, which is it's accurate to the micro series, I'll give them that. But it's like if you try to force grip Grievous, his legs will just lock on the floor so you can't move him at all. So as a whole, Grievous is just really difficult to deal with. But yeah, and pretty much you get multiple character unlocks. So like I said, you start with Anakin and Obi-Wan, then you get Count Dooku, you get Grievous, you get Mace Windu, Syndraulic,
Sarah,
Sarah, what's her last name again?
I forget. She just referred to as just
Um,
Sarah, and that's it.
hold on. Sarah Kento, or
Uh,
Sarah Keto. Um, and then, and so you get all of them, and then finally, if you beat the bonus level, you get, if you beat the Death Star bonus level, you get Darth Vader and Old Ben,
oh
which,
boy, yeah.
which I'll say this, it's a great set, but it is an absolute crime that Yoda and Sidious were not made available as characters
They
in
would
it.
have had to make a Yoda and Sidious versus Sidious level, which meant you would have had to play as Yoda, and you would have to have lost the fight, which would have made for a
Either
great.
that, or they could, or if they wanted to make it screwed up, you could play as Sidious.
That would actually be pretty good. But
Unlimited power. In fact, honestly, missed opportunity. It's like if they added as a playable character in the verses, they could have had a dedicated level where you played at like maybe a bonus level since Anakin and Obi-Wan are like the main characters of the main story. But like they could have done a bonus level of Mace taking on Palpatine.
yeah, I I agree with that. I actually think the bonus level with Yoda is pretty good. I like the bonus level with Vader and Old Ben. I particularly the only one that I'm not a big fan of is actually what is it? It's the Mustafar bonus level. I think it's like a time trial or something.
Yeah, it's something like that. But pretty much it's but yeah, I mean you get a good amount of content with that, and it's especially fun to do the versus mode when you got like a friend to do it with.
Especially
Otherwise you just go against the CPU.
especially if that person is new and they don't know what they're doing.
Truly shoddy swordsmanship. Is this what the Jedi Order has come to?
Oh my
In
god.
case no one else has figured it out yet, I'm a Dooku main.
Oh god. We should definitely record our gameplay of like record some gameplay if we ever meet in person of like
Indeed,
yeah.
indeed.
Yeah, and
But
yeah.
yeah, that pretty much concludes all the content surrounding the Revenge of the Sith video game. So at this point, what would you rate it out of 10, and what would you say your concluding thoughts are?
Well, for me, this is definitely the best tie-in video game that I've ever played, with the second being a South Park game, believe it or not. But this game is definitely a product of its time. It's clearly a Lord of the Rings game clone, but I still enjoy it. It is pretty challenging, and it can get very annoying at times. In fact, I was recently replaying it, and I was at the Windu fight, and I got pissed off. Like, I almost broke my controller. But overall, I say it's a very strong 7 out of 10. It is clearly dated, and I wish for God's sake, like the when you if you play it on like the Xbox One, and when you get it from the Microsoft Store, it's in its original aspect ratio. They should have made it for widescreen. That is my biggest complaint about the entire thing, is that they didn't give it a widescreen adaptation. That is my biggest complaint about the game.
Honestly, do what should be done at this point, like because pretty much I'm in agreement with you. It is a 7 out of 10 game for me. Um, I think it's actually probably still to this day, it's probably still the best lightsaber fighting game we've had. Because even if you compare it to like Jedi Academy and all that, everything feels. I like Jedi Academy's like lightsaber combat, but it's like it feels very like floaty and almost weightless a little bit, where it's just
Yeah.
kind of like. And I like how this one, there's more combos, there's more like actual connection made. I like the saber lock functions, like everything about it just feels very intricate. I think they could just, it's definitely a product of its time, but it works really well for what it is. And if it goes on sale for like $10, and especially if it's like Microsoft occasionally puts it on sale for like $5, it's like buy it. It's good. It's a fun experience for that.
It's
And
certainly better than Masters of Terraskaze. That's for sure.
honestly, it's interesting seeing it as kind of a nice it's a nice interactive experience, especially in relation to the film. So yeah, all things considered, good 7 out of 10 for me. Definitely would picking it up as long as it's not too expensive.
Yeah. So next time we're going to be covering the novelization, which, oh boy, that is a doozy. So at the time of
Yeah,
this,
we're gonna have so stay tuned for that one. That one's gonna be a one. So I warn you all, be prepared.
oh god, oh thanks Scar. Yeah. So just a fair warning to everybody here. So our film review was over 3 hours long. So hopefully our novel review isn't that long, because holy man,
It's
what?
gonna be that long.
Oh my god.
Realistically, it's gonna be that long. If anything, it might even.
Oh my god, if we get like a 5 hour review of the
I
book,
mean, I've already told you, man. We're probably gonna have to do more than one recording session, but
that's
we'll
yeah.
sort that out later. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for chiming in and watching this podcast. We really appreciate the time that you take to watch it. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving Dead Ponic a like, subscribing, and especially posting some comments, because we love having your guys' opinion and input. That always really just helps the channel grow and keeps community interaction going. So it's fun stuff.
All right. We'll see you guys next time. Actually, we'll be doing this after I get out of surgery, so hopefully that'll work out. We'll see you guys next time.